The billionaire backers of the Republican Party are also being openly honored here in Tampa on Thursday. The Koch-funded Americans for Prosperity will honor David Koch. Meanwhile, billionaire casino mogul Sheldon Adelson is also expected in Tampa this week to attend an event hosted by the Republican Jewish Coalition. We're joined now by Peter Stone, freelancer who writes for the Huffington Post and other publications. His latest article is titled GOP Shadow Groups Eclipsing Party in Tampa. He has spent 2 decades covering money and politics for the National Journal and the Center for Public Integrity. It's good to have you with us, Peter. So people see the all of the pomp, but talk about what's happening behind the scenes. Take us down the money trail.
Okay, well, this party in some way, this convention is really a coming out party, if you will, for the so-called shadow groups, the super PACs and the nonprofits that are planning on spending hundreds of millions of dollars this year on the Republican side, perhaps as close to $1 billion, to help elect Romney and put the GOP in control of Congress. Many of these groups have grown up just since early 2010, when high court rulings first gave the green light to allow corporations, individuals, and unions to write unlimited checks to outside groups for ads that will directly call for the election or defeat of a candidate. So American Crossroads is probably the most prominent of these new groups. They have a super PAC, American Crossroads, and they have a nonprofit called Crossroads GPS. The two groups were founded by Karl Rove and Ed Gillespie, former chairman of the Republican National Committee, and now an advisor to the Romney campaign. They have already run tens of millions of dollars of ads, bashing Obama administration policies in many swing states, healthcare, economic policies, and others. What's interesting is that the outside groups are allowed to coordinate with each other, and this is perfectly legal. And we've seen this year, even more than in the 2010 elections, a high level of coordination between some of the biggest, deepest pocketed groups. Besides Crossroads groups, you have the Koch-founded Americans for Prosperity, which is honoring David Koch on Thursday. And you have the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which has been able to do this kind of spending for a long time, but is now able to directly advocate for or against a candidate and is doing so. They're spending less than the other groups, about $50 million. They're focusing just on congressional races. But these three groups in particular have been meeting regularly every 2 to 4 weeks to talk about coordinating strategies in battleground states. They've often piggybacked ads, sequentially in key states, Ohio, Florida, Virginia, where they've been able to, go back to back legally, all legally, and target both Obama administration policies and some of the top Senate candidates who are under fire. Everybody from, Claire McCaskill in Missouri is one of the top targets. Sherrod Brown in Ohio is a top target, and obviously they're going after.
Aren't they in a big bind on the Claire McCaskill front, considering that her opponent is Todd Akin? Quote, legitimate rape Akin.
Right. Well, they have been in a bind, and interestingly, Crossroads was one of the first groups right out of the bat, as just while GOP power politicians were decrying Akin and distancing themselves from Akin. They announced, 10 days or 2 weeks ago, as soon as the controversy broke, that they were pulling ads from Missouri that they had planned. They'd planned hundreds of thousands of dollars of more ads on top of what they'd already done, but they were pulling ads because they were trying to get Akin out of the race. We're seeing these groups emerge as huge forces, parallel parties, in effect, shadow party groups. They're doing many of the same things that the RNC, the Romney campaign, the congressional Republican campaigns are doing. They're actually being able to supplement the spending. While the Romney campaign has been catching up and now surpassing the Obama campaign in fundraising the last few months, these groups were able to pour, tens of millions of dollars into races or in the spring and the summer when the Romney campaign and the RNC were just getting going after he, more or less became the presumptive nominee, winning the primaries. So they have been big, big players up till now, and they will continue to be big players through Election Day. We're going to see some of them do more get out the vote efforts. Americans for Prosperity in particular, has folks with other Koch-backed groups in 300 counties across the country in battleground states where they've got a network of folks working to get out the conservative vote, working, and they're going after, they're going after some moderate Ds too. Interesting appeal in recent weeks. We've seen some of these groups say that, basically casting Obama as a failed president, acknowledging he's likable, but emphasizing that he hasn't done the job. So they've broadened their message. They're playing to both, conservative base and to a swing, potential swing votes in efforts to, find a way to pull Romney up in the polls. And, he's getting very close in some polls, passing Obama.